Hey there, it's James Taylor here, and I'm delighted today to welcome Jonathan Lau. Jonathan Lau is a speaker and executive coach who works with organizations and senior executives to measurably improve their leadership effectiveness and business performance, especially in the areas of service quality, sales performance, leadership communication, and team development. Jonathan has more than 25 years of professional and international business experience in executive positions in the service industry, and has worked with executives and their leadership teams throughout Asia and the Middle East. He is a certified speaking professional, CSP, one of Asia's leading sales and service mastery and leadership success coaches, a certified coach with Marshall Goldsmith, SCC, and a certified global certified Canfield mythology trainer. He has lots of qualifications, this gentleman. He also has a new virtual summit that's going to be happening very soon called the Global Success Summit that we're going to be learning about in just a moment. So first of all, Jonathan, welcome. Great to have you with us here today.
Thank you, James. Thank you for having me in the part of your program.
So I was mentioning just at the end there, the Global Success Summit, and you were just telling me before we came on, you've got one day coming up, you're doing 12 interviews in one day for creating this new summit that you're doing with Shah Nasino. So tell me, first of all, a little bit about this Global Success Summit. What's it about? Why have you decided to create this summit?
Well, the summit really came about because of you. You inspired us. You gave us the opportunity to reach out. And both Shah and myself, we are graduates of Jack Canfield. So obviously the success principle. And because of that, we say, hey, you know what? Why don't we do something on the area of success? And let's explore things that we can do to create better success for everyone in the world, whether they're a speaker, whether they are entrepreneur, whether they are in a corporate environment. So we came up with, why not have the Global Success Summit, right? And we developed 5 different pillars. So day 1 is on the pillar of sales. Second day is on customer service experience. Third day is on leadership. Fourth day is on communication. And the 5th day is on the power of digital marketing. So we thought, these are elements of success that people would generally need in their life. And we say, hey, great, let's do it. And yeah, my first online summit coming up in August 26th to the 30th. So
Fantastic.
Really excited.
So a lot of people, I know when I deal with speakers, like yourself, members of my Speakers U program, and they hear about doing online summits or virtual summits, they get really excited because they see the possibility in terms of helping them position themselves and bringing more speaking gigs and other revenue streams. But the thing that often puts them off is the technology piece. They get worried, they get a little bit worried about, I have to do all these web pages, and how do I do all that? So how are you finding the process? Because you don't come from a technology background, you come very much from a speaker, service leadership side.
Yeah. So one thing I noticed was, find people. So Shah has actually done the online HR Global Summit. And I thought with her expertise in running that, she would probably have the back end already done. So I gave her a call and say, hey, Shah, you have done the back end. I'm pretty well connected to a lot of good friends globally during my tenure as the Global Speakers Federation president 3 years ago. And I say, hi, why don't I just connect with the right people and let's see how we can bring more global experts to share their expertise. And I'll take care of the front end and you work on the back end to support. So I think that's working out pretty well. And it's about collaboration. I like to say, the back end really, it's like so much work, but it's been a great ride, and Shah is very comfortable in doing that. She's got a great team supporting her. So yeah, it's a good balance, and collaboration is key, especially in the speakers world, because we have got respective talents, respective expertise, and just begin to focus on those.
Now you talk about this idea about collaboration. You mentioned that you were the president of the Global Speakers Federation, which kind of sits, I always think it kind of sits above all the national speakers associations that happen around the world as well. Everyone I know that's taken on that role it's quite an intense job to have to do that role as well. But I know it's very rewarding for the people that do it as well. So what were your key takeaways from being so deeply involved in the speaking, the association side of speaking?
Well, actually, I spent about 20 plus years in the hospitality business, working in different hotels around Asia Pacific. So I really come from a platform of service. And when my hotel career, gave me an opportunity to become a professional trainer, speaker, I landed myself in this association in Malaysia, which is called the Malaysian Association of Professional Speakers. And so I served, I went into at the premise of what can I do for you, because of my hotel background. I kind of like just asked everyone if there's anything I can be of service to you, how can I assist you? And never did I know, opportunity came, and I was elected to be the president then at the Malaysian Association of Professional Speakers. And then after when that finished, I opened my mouth and say to the global team and say, hey, I'm done with my Malaysian duties. Is there anything I can be of service to the Global Speakers Federation? And, I came in as a treasurer, I became the secretary. So I went through the whole different roles. But, and that was where I got the opportunity to become the first Malaysian, the first Asian president of the Global Speakers Federation. A huge honor, a lot of responsibility, but fantastic, rewarding experience of just, learning from an individual perspective, from a speaker's perspective, and just from a service perspective too.
If anyone is watching or listening to this just now who is a speaker or aspiring speaker, but they're not a member of a Speakers Association, what do you tend to see are the benefits of joining a Speakers Association?
I think the Speakers Association will give them a collective network of professional speakers who are really active. And sure, that there are a lot of great clubs, that can help build their public speaking competency, like Toastmasters is fantastic clubs. My personal experience joining a professional speaking association is that you really have people who are actively involved in the business. And the member association is really there to help you to become better in doing your business, giving you new tools, giving you new insight, providing resources that generally may not be available in a Toastmasters, because there's just the speaking side of it, but it's also the side of building the business, which is very important. So you learn a lot of perspective, right? And with all this perspective that you gain, it's about what resonates with you. Some people like to have large scale businesses. Some are pretty happy with a smaller size business, and they're quite happy with it. And you gain insights with a lot of opportunities, virtual assistants, so that the whole campaign. So sometimes, when I first came into the business, I was really blown away. I went to an NSA convention, which is in the States, and I was like, wow, there's so much to learn. Where do I start? Am I ever even going to succeed in this business? Because it was so overwhelming. So for me, it was the education perspective that was great, but more importantly, it was the people in it that made it really great.
So something I didn't really, realize the last time I was in Malaysia and Kuala Lumpur that we were together was just getting a slightly better feel on the speaking industry in Malaysia itself as a place to speak. And the thing I hadn't really realized was how big the training industry is in Malaysia. Now, I also know that it's gone through some difficult times recently. There's been a lot of changes in the training side of the business. So I think it'd be useful for anyone that doesn't know that part of Asia. What are some key things that you find that when people are coming in from outside that are not from Malaysia and they're looking at the speaking or the training industries in Malaysia that they can have to recognize that it's useful to know about?
Well, training is big. In terms of the government, they actually set up a place that is called a PSME, or what we call the Human Resource Development Fund. So organizations have to contribute a certain percentage of their revenue set aside for training and development for their own team members in the company. So that fund is available. And if it's not utilized, it's going to be burned, kind of a thing. So which means it is going to be compulsory for organizations to set people into training. Now they are slowly moving into coaching allocation. Speaking is somehow, a little bit in between, because speaking keynotes is usually 1 hour, 1.5 hours. And so from the training perspective, they like to see more of the 9 to 5. You get some tangible skills, take back as part of the deliverables. So this is where the focus of training has been much more. I would say in Asia, unless you are a speaker that is traveling around different region, so that's a little bit different. So primarily a lot of the people in Malaysia would be trainers come speakers. I started as a trainer, right? So I still do perhaps about 50% of my work currently is still on workshop facilitation, 2 or 3 days workshop facilitation, and speaking is about 20 to about 30% of my business mix.
And I know you do also a lot of work in the Middle East as well as in Asia and also North America as well. What do you notice as you start to move around different countries, different territories? Does that blend change for you? Do you find that you're doing more keynote speaking and speaking in Middle East, for example, where Asia tends to be more on the training side?
In the Middle East too, especially in Saudi, it's still a little bit more on the training side of it. That has got more engagement. In terms of the keynote, it is really events that happen and they may select the destination. So primarily the business is usually for people who are working there. And this is where you get a little bit more of the people who resonate towards there. But I see more of like destination like Hong Kong, right? Singapore, which is very popular for North American companies that will have their annual conferences. In Asia, they will have it in perhaps Bangkok. And this is where a lot of the keynote speaking are primarily in those cities, but the audience may not necessarily be from those countries itself.
Got it. Yeah, I was amazed in Singapore how many events, conferences are going on there. You go to some of those conference venues, and I don't know the exact numbers, but it all seems there's a lot of international speakers who use Singapore as their hub of places to go as well. Does that benefit you in Malaysia, or does that cause a bit of a challenge because you've got all this competition that's just sitting over the border there?
Well, I see it a little bit different. Some people, they will see it as competition. For me personally, it's about what can I do better to upskill myself, right? So that I'm in the same playing field and I can be just as great as one of my peers in Singapore, right? So I think, bringing that level of playing field really helps one another. So it's not so much about, hey, they're eating into my pie, but we always believe in a speaker's world, the pie is big enough for everyone to have a slice of it. And within speakers, we can't do everything. And the thing is, like James, you focus a lot on creativity. And for me, I do a lot on sales and service. So, if things on creativity, I would probably say, hey, reach out to James Taylor. He's one of the best in creativity and innovation. So we also cross-reference, we cross-support because the conference organizer may be engaging me for this year, but may not be the same speaker for next year. And this is where the opportunities, and when we see someone have spoken as a speaker, we are a little bit more comfortable to promote or to recommend. So one of the great benefits as a member of a professional speaker association, when you get a chance to be there, other people get to see you in action too. So highly recommended for you to visit as many as possible.
Yeah, I've recommended a lot of those, when you and I have been together in Singapore or in Malaysia and Kuala Lumpur, we've seen speakers together, and I want to recommend her. She's great. She's got something, and I know you have, everyone has websites and all of those good things as well, but actually to see someone that they can really do their thing on stage, it makes you feel confident that that when you refer that person to a client, because maybe you've spoken there 1 year and then they come back to you, like just last week, I had 3 clients who I spoke for almost 12 months ago and maybe 10 months ago, who came but said, James, could you recommend some speakers? These are the topics that are themes for our conference. And I'm immediately going back in my mental Rolodex and thinking who did I see at Singapore this year? Or who did I see in India, in Chennai? Or who's this great, a bureau that would be a great person to connect with them in that territory. So you talk a lot about service excellence, and whenever I think of Jonathan, I always think of service, and that's you're kind of known for that. So as you're with your part speaker hat on and part service hat on, when you look at how other speakers are delivering a great service excellence for their clients and for the audiences, can you maybe put me to some people you've seen do, some speakers that do things recently where you went, actually, that's great. That's an example of giving great service either to the client or to the audience.
Wow, that's a great question. So in terms of examples, I think a lot of the speakers in, for example, in APSS2 or even in the different member association, one thing that I like is, when they actually finish an engagement, their follow-through process is really good. And the sharing of their knowledge is also very powerful in terms of how they are developing the relationship and sharing that openly among speakers. But with the client, I also see a lot of them doing pairing up opportunity. Now, what is pairing up opportunity? So pairing up opportunity is, when you visit a speaker's bureau, you go as a pair. So again, you have your different discipline, and this is where you can actually support one another. I mean, if I were to say Jonathan is really a great guy. It looks funny if I say about myself, but if I'm there with you, James, and you know what, James is an excellent speaker. And if you're considering James for one of that, and if James, you're there with me and you speak about me, so it's much more credibility. And I begin to see more of speakers budding up to do that, either in a networking event or when they're going together to meet clients. Potentially, a lot of cross opportunity is happening, and that is really giving service. Really not about thinking about the next transaction or the business, but how can we best give value to the customer? Because this is really a long-term business, and the industry is really small because everyone after a while pretty much know who is who. And and the same with Speakers Bureau, right? Because they also talk among themselves, and they also cross and say, who is the recommended people, that is going to be really reliable. Who are the prima donnas, kind of a thing, very difficult to work with, do we shy away from them, or just make it easy for the customers to work with you, right? Whether it is a bureau, whether it is, because that represents professionalism. And as a member of the Global Speakers Federation Member Association, I mean, personally for me, it is our goal that people will speak highly of the member association. If you're a professional member there and people say, oh, you belong to Asia Professional Singapore, or you belong to MAPS or Australia, they will say, wow, they have got the quality of the speakers that you should highly consider. Yeah, that would be my aspiration.
But that's interesting. You just mentioned that about the buddying up. I think that's an interesting. I mean, obviously, with your online summit that you're doing just now with Shah, that's a form of buddying up, and And actually, I think there's something really powerful about that. I remember doing that with Event Professional Summit, myself and a speaker from California, Erin Gargan, who's a great speaker on social media. And a lot of people commented about it because it's so unusual to see, you normally see the speakers out on their own, these kind of lone wolf characters. To see two people working together, and thought, that's, and it's, especially if you get a nice, a good chemistry together, either in person or whether you're, you're filming together, for example. I think that could be really important. But you actually got me thinking there about that, solving the customer's problems and helping them solve their problems. So I often, you mentioned I speak about creativity, and I'm talking often more about generation of ideas, developing those ideas. I don't often focus so much on what we call more innovation processes, which is, the standard operating procedures, different things about creating innovation, ongoing innovation processes in your business.
Right.
But that's maybe for an example where actually, maybe what I should be doing is I should be connecting with some of those great innovation speakers are out there and saying, why don't we buddy up together and we'll go in and pitch on certain pieces together. Or maybe even the stage before me, when on strategy, I'm often brought in because a company's done some big strategy document and say, well, actually, we need to be more creative. And that's why they'll bring me in and to help work with them there. But maybe I need to be working with the woman before me who's focusing on helping develop the strategy and talking about strategy and companies or positioning.
Fantastic. And that is real value, right? End of the day, the customers get the whole spread from point A to point Z. Yeah. So it's the whole journey. And that is really adding value. And you're giving them easy accessibility to the right speaker that can complement the whole experience of the conference. And people are looking for experience these days, because the more engaged, the more emotionally engaged they are in the conference. And that is really about what the speakers can actually bring about. Then the whole experience is much better, right? Rather than you have independent speakers and they're probably focusing on the core expertise area without really connecting the dots for the whole event. So that's another opportunity, I feel.
And you mentioned there, you've seen a lot of speakers that do really well the follow-up process. So after you've come off stage and you've done as a speaker, you've done your thing, and they're very good at that follow-up and helping to either continue that journey with the client, or to continue to add value, or to continue to follow up, to look for new opportunities related to that gig. Can you maybe give me any examples of any speakers or yourself, things that you do just to ensure that you're providing great value and you're helping that client solve their problem?
So one of the things the things that I'm currently doing is that give them accessibility to me. So I use the platform LinkedIn pretty much a lot. And this is one platform that they can really connect with me. So whoever I see in a conference, I have a large QR code. And there are some of the speakers already sharing this about connecting via QR code, putting onto the screen, and people just aiming the camera there and they get connected with you immediately. So you have a connection, which is very good for your follow-up. And because you have that immediate, so if you speak in a conference for 100 or 200 people, within that time that you're there, it's relatively very difficult for you to reach out to so many. But with this opportunity, you can immediately follow up with them. And as part of the follow-up, what I do is I will always say, thank you so much for being there. And at the same time, I will provide videos for myself, because I do a lot of videos sharing tips on what people can actually do. So I will send them a video and say, hey, I was just in Hong Kong speaking in a conference, and I did a video on the 3 strategy on how to gain better commitment with your clients. So I hope you will appreciate that. And if you like it, you can connect with my YouTube playlist. So adding all these additional things, which is not so much on the selling side of it, but just providing value, helping them to become better in whatever they're doing. And they'll remember you. They will remember you. So yeah, so this is what are some of the things that I do to follow up. And it's a good opportunity. If you've done a really good job, reach out to a couple of them to share some of their experience, right? It's part of the recommendation of how the conference has actually benefited them.
So in your time of the past 20 years of speaking and training, and also being part of Global Speakers Federation and MAPS as well, you've attended a lot of events. I'm sure you've been given a lot of business cards in that time as well. What have you found? Because I have these bags. Every time I speak at an event, I have a plastic Ziploc bag for each event. And I basically just put all the business cards in that event. And sometimes I've written on the back of them. And so I can process either at the airport lounge and go through them, or when I get back into the office. What do you do with all those business cards? How do you have a process in terms of going through those to be able to know which ones you connect with?
Well, I actually have an apps on my phone, and the apps, I'm just trying to find the apps that I'm using right now. But the apps gives me an opportunity to scan the business card. So I'll have a business card, and it also asks me where do I want to find which database. It gives me a chance to prioritize in different segment under what corporate, whether it's a speaker, whether it is what conference that I met that person. So it helps me to manage my folder a little bit, because like you say, I used to have bags and bags of cards, and after a while I'll get someone to key it in, but that's someone never really happens. And after a while I say, oh my gosh, these cards are like 6 months old. What do I do with it? Do I still key it in? Is it still valid? And the other thing is also because of the privacy act that is very, very stringent, the data protection. So a little bit cautious when we do emailing when it comes to that. But otherwise, I try to get everyone to connect me on social media, because I think that is a safer platform that people can still communicate and work with you or find you or just have a relationship built.
So we'll find the name of the app. I think I used one a while back called Card Munch or Card Muncher or something, which seemed to connect with LinkedIn. I'm not sure if that's still available, but we'll get the name of the app that you're talking about, and we'll put that here.
The app is actually called ABBYYBCR. So
ABBY.
Yeah, ABBYY Business Card Reader.
Business card reader.
Not sure whether you can see it, but that's the apps here. Yeah.
That's great. So we'll put that link there if anyone's interested in that as well, because there is that thing when you go and speak at an event, you get given so many business cards. I've got such a terrible memory. I have to almost immediately write on the business card. I don't like writing in the business card in front of someone because I think it's kind of disrespectful, but as soon as I get to a quiet place, I'm immediately writing down all the notes from these business cards. But maybe sounds like you've got a much more streamlined way of doing it. So I'm definitely going to check that out.
And just a couple of days ago, we had the opportunities to, I had the opportunity to interview Gil Petersil.
Yeah.
And, he's called the networking master, right? And he was sharing some tips on how, about how he collects the card and how he has it called P1, P2, P3, P4, and what he does with that. So that's going to be happening on the online Global Success Summit, right? So again, opportunities to learn from some of the great people who are practitioners, who are actually the masters of doing that.
Well, Gil is amazing. So if anyone's watching this, listening, and you want to know about Gil's system, because Gil works with Tony Robbins. He's an absolute master when it comes to networking. Then you're going to want to, sign up for that, the pass for Global Success Summit. So you can hear Jonathan's interview with Gil. Just as we start to finish up here, I always ask this question of any speakers I'm with, because I'm always intrigued about the gadgets and things that they carry with them. What's in your speaker bag? What do you carry with you to all of those various speaking engagements?
What's my speaker's bag? A mic. I have a mic and a really good one, Rode, R-O-D-E, right? And I'm always ready if there's opportunity to get a quick video recording, especially in conferences that I've spoken in. And if I know there's a couple of people who resonate and they're really intrigued, I will just kind of ask them to share a couple of things which they found really useful and what was really exciting about it. So always have that handy. And personally for me, every city that I go to, I will also have a tripod ever ready so that I can do video recording.
And you use your phone to do the video recording? Do you have like a separate camera?
Just the iPhone. So I use the iPhone to do it. And there are a couple of apps that supports that too.
And the mic you're talking about, is that the Rode, I think it's called the Lav, Smart Lav one, which you just connect on, you put on a lavalier mic?
Yeah, that's the one that you put onto your,
I've got one of those. They're great. And I think it's especially because I remember doing my first few events and people said that we'd love to give you a testimonial. And I would go like that with my phone and they would give a testimony and they didn't have a mic on. And I'd go back to try and look at the video and I couldn't hear what they were saying because it was so loud in these conference rooms.
Correct.
So that's a good tip. Just have one of those little Rode mics with you.
Have one of those mics and also have another extension. It's always good because sometimes the people may be a little bit further. So when you have an extension, it gives you the opportunity that they're a little bit further away and you can get a little bit more of the background of the convention too, because if not, it's going to be proximity is going to be just face to face at this distance. So if you have a longer mic extension that connects much better.
And what about things like clickers? Do you click your own clicker on the road with you, or do you just use whichever clicker you're given?
Yes. I do have my own and I use the one by Targus.
Okay. That's fantastic. And then if people want to connect with you to learn more about Jonathan Lau, the speaker, and everything you've got going on there. And then also if they want to go and find out about Global Success Summit, where are the places that they should go to do that?
If you want to connect with me, I have two websites. I have a personal website that is www.jonathanlau.net, or they can visit my company's website, which is www.globalsuccesslearning.net. So that's the company one.
That's great. Fantastic. And I'll also make sure that we have a link here to the summit as well. So if people want to, because I think this interview will be coming out just probably a few weeks just before the summit begins. So you'll be able to go and learn all about that summit as well. Jonathan, thank you so much for coming on today and sharing. You've got huge amounts of experience in terms of speaking and the training business globally as well. So I always learn lots whenever we get a chance to hang out together and speak. So thank you so much for coming on. And also thank you for being a Speakers U member. First of all, I have to ask, how are you enjoying being a Speakers U member, being part of the community?
Oh, it's fantastic. You talk about the Speakers U community?
Yeah.
Fantastic. One of the best investment I've really done because of the value. And especially I'm just filled with gratitude about, the way you've been sharing, the way you've been passionately helping speakers, the way you have grown your business, and you're happily helping other speakers to do the same. And that's the wonderful thing about the speakers community. It's not about what I know, but what I know that I can help other people become more successful. When we see success in others, everyone becomes successful. So that's a great thing that you have done, James. So thank you so much for creating that and just sharing your wisdom selflessly.
Well, and thank you for sharing your success and sharing ways people can become more successful, whether they're speakers or anything else they're doing in their life and business. I wish you all the best with the summit, Jonathan. I'm sure you and Shah are just going to do a phenomenal job. I can't wait to see it when it comes out. Thanks so much for coming on and sharing all about your speaker's life.
Thank you so much for inviting me. All the best, James.
How would you like to get paid to travel the world to share your message and expertise? How would it feel to get paid $5,000, $10,000, or $25,000 to travel first class and stay in 5-star hotels in exotic locations? What I've just described is the lifestyle of international keynote speakers. And you can join me and over 100 of the world's best keynote speakers and speaker trainers as they reveal their secrets to becoming a better speaker and getting booked to travel the world as a professional keynote speaker. And best of all, as it's an online summit, you don't even have to leave home. Plus, it's not going to cost you a single dollar, euro, pound, ruble, peso, or yen if you sign up for the free pass at internationalspeakersummit.com. You're going to receive access to never seen before video interviews with over 40 of the world's best keynote speakers. In addition to this, you'll get access to archive interviews from some of last year's summit guests. So in total, you'll be able to watch in-depth interviews with over 100 incredible speakers and speaker trainers. You'll learn how to find a theme for your keynote presentation, how to craft your talk, how to get booked as a speaker, how much to charge, and ways to get paid to speak on stages all over the world. So what are you waiting for? Head over to internationalspeakersummit.com now.